Patchwork Heart Ministry and Fiat Ministry Network invite you to discover your mission, a brand new in-depth monthly video series featuring engaging Catholic speakers who will challenge you to live your life abundantly. For only $25 a month, you will receive a personal monthly mission, including 3 full-length inspirational talks that build upon a new theme each month. Sign up for the Discover Your Mission tier at patreon.com/patchworkheartministry today.
Welcome to the Sowing Hope podcast. This is a show all about implanting hope in our hearts. I'm Bill Snyder, joined by my friend Ann DeSantis. We're glad you're here for our uplifting conversation about faith and how it sustains our hearts through all the seasons of life. Thanks for walking with us. And good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Sowing Hope podcast. I'm Bill Snyder. It's great that you've joined us no matter where you're listening from. Thank you for tuning in on YouTube or Podbean. We really appreciate you joining us for Sowing Hope once again. I'm joined, as always, by my friend and co-host Ann DeSantis. So welcome, Ann, and thank you so much for being here tonight on our podcast. It is a blessing, as always, to have you join us. Oh, I've got to unmute Ann, otherwise she can't talk. So hang on 1 minute. There we go. Unmute y'all. Thanks so much, Ann, for joining us. Welcome in.
Hi, Bill, and great to be here. I'm so blessed on this evening for our awesome guest that we have with us.
Yes, me too. Excited about it.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell people who it is?
Tonight we have Matthew Pinto. He is the founder and the president of Ascension Press. So Matthew, thank you so much for joining us on the Sowing Hope podcast with Bill Snyder and I.
Ann and Bill, it's great to be with you.
How are you this evening?
We're doing great, actually. That's been a common question in the past 6 or so weeks that we've all been asked, and I always address it with 2 lenses. One, the family, one with the ministry that I get to do, and both are going very well. They have their different challenges, but the family time, my goodness, has been unbelievable in the past 6 weeks. Best in 15 years, quite frankly.
I will agree. Who would have ever guessed this? Right? I mean, we never would have guessed this, but it certainly is an answer to prayer in many ways that we are all spending such beautiful time with family members. I would say for many of us and those who are listening too, take the time. Although we're all going through a rough time right now, it is a blessed time too to be with the people who are important in your life right now, and they're by your side, your family. So on that note, Matt, I wondered if you could share a little bit about your own faith journey, family, and mission. I thought maybe our listeners would like to hear that.
Very good. Sure. Love sharing my faith and really how I got to, I guess, be where I am today. So I'm in my mid-50s, and in my early 20s, very early, maybe even late teens, I was challenged on my faith by a very good man, an evangelical friend. And within 2-3 years, I really faced the question of, is Catholicism true? But if you back up just a little bit, I was raised in a great family, very devout in the grand sense of the word, although the daily or weekly practice might have been lacking a little bit in some regards. But my parents were wonderful. They raised us with virtue. And so, Ann and Bill, I often share that I and my siblings were really ripe for deeper conversion when whatever that life crisis or that challenge came, and mine came, as I mentioned, in my late teens, early 20s. And I woke up to this extraordinary reality known as the Catholic faith and God's existence and God coming to us in the person of Jesus Christ. And it all kind of blew my mind. And I was running an advertising business that I had started in college at the time. And I would proceed to run that for a few more years. But really at the ripe old age of 24, 25, I was burning out. And I concluded that, there has to be more at the trajectory and the rate I'm going. I would do very well according to the world standards, but there had to be more. And I really what I ended up doing was leaving that and beginning to work in the Catholic faith.
I know that many of the people who are listening know Ascension. So some of you know Ascension Presents, which is such a popular venue on YouTube with our friend Father Mike Schmitz and others, and all the wonderful books that you have published. What has that experience been like for you? Because you've been doing it for quite some time now. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
I've been 30 years almost, or 29 years full time in Catholic ministry. And I tell people it's been glorious. I mean, it's been not without 1,000, stresses and bumps and bruises along the way. But and I think many of my staff would do this work for free. Um, the, Ascension has been around for 21 years. I've been doing it full time for, I think, maybe 19. I lose track a little bit, but it's been fabulous, wonderful, not in small part because I get to rub shoulders and meet with a lot of people who really are wonderful, like Jeff Cavins, Father Mike Schmitz, and so many others. But one thing I've learned, and I'm not making any statement at all about anyone in particular, but one thing I've learned that those who are very popular in the Catholic world and particularly effective, they're popular and effective because they're real and real in the sense that they realize that, but for the grace of God, there go we. At any time, um, you know, we're none of us are ultimately there. And so, Father Josh Johnson, Father Mike Schmitz, Jeff Cavins, and those others who I've mentioned, just are so good because they're real, they're human, and they realize that their own frailties.
That's exactly right. I have two daughters in their 20s, and they just love Ascension videos, as do many people who are listening right now. So I want to invite those who are on this podcast also to go on to ascensionpress.com, because not only do they have amazing videos and presenters, but such a great list of authors. Wondered if you could talk about that. I got a recent email from Ascension mentioning Danielle Bean, who I know from Catholic Mom because I happen to be an author at CatholicMom.com. So blessed to say hi to my friends there. And I know she had a best-selling book. So maybe you could just tell us a little bit about those authors too.
Yeah, we've been fortunate to work with a lot of good people. Danielle's book that you mentioned, at least one of them, is called "You Are Enough." It's a book about being a woman and the mission of a woman. We do a fair amount of work with Ted Shree and Chris Stefanik and Mark Hart, and as I mentioned, Jeff Cavins. Um, so those are just a few of the persons we work with. I've done a good number of books as well, although I haven't done one in probably 10 years because I'm stuck in the office doing administration, but that's okay. So those are some of the persons with whom we work, and we do a lot of video work. Anne and Bill, as you may know, our specialty really is small faith sharing groups. We produce videos and workbooks. So we have about 55 different small faith group programs. We also do marriage preparation, which we do for many dioceses, including my own diocese in Philadelphia. So we're blessed to be able to do a varied amount of work. And then you had mentioned the Ascension Presents. What that is, for those who might be new, you can go to Ascension Press, but also the word presents, as in giving something to someone. That's a free social media platform where we have hundreds of thousands of followers on YouTube and Facebook and some of the other platforms. And so that's been a real blessing. And I just received a letter yesterday from someone, and these types of letters we receive into the thousands every year. But one yesterday was a person who saw one of our videos. This person had been caught up in the same-sex attraction lifestyle for many years, and saw one of our videos and really just began some of that introspection. And credits watching a video on our channels. Another person said that they were contemplating taking their life that very day. And that very day, Father Mike Schmitz came out with a video about suicide. And so you just have to believe. You'd have to be hard of heart to not believe that was Providence moving, that it was more than just coincidence.
Yeah,
Oh,
those
that's
are beautiful
Providence.
testimonies. Those really are beautiful things. We're all very familiar with the many different things that Ascension puts out there, and it's such a blessing to have them. I mean, it's so prolific all across the entire country. I mean, and world, and the Holy Spirit acts in just those ways. We never know when somebody's listening to a podcast or a radio show like this, and they. The Holy Spirit just has a way of making those divine appointments, and they're perfect divine appointments that are made with with the different people, and we love when we get those fruits, Matt. Right? Isn't that the best when you get those letters and those fruits that say, "Hey, I heard that on your show, and or I saw this video, or I read this book," and there's something that just warms your heart about that. Totally.
Yeah. Thank you for that. We. I'm going to be sending out a letter just to kind of share the Ascension story. First time ever we've ever sent a letter that kind of requests a little bit of support. And so in doing that, I asked my staff, can you grab me some testimonials? And the number that they had, and again, I say this, God could end this all tomorrow. I don't say this in any type of boastful way. In fact, Ann and Bill, one thing I've shared before is one of the rebukes I believe I actually may get in the hereafter is not taking enough time to celebrate. Catholicism is a faith of fasts, no doubt, but it's a faith of feasts. In fact, I think someone pointed out to me one time that in any given week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, those 6 days are feast days, and Friday is the fast day. But it's a 6-to-1 ratio. And one thing that I really have thought a number of times is it's been 30 years or 21 years of Ascension of really pounding hard that I haven't taken enough, and maybe my staff hasn't taken enough time to really celebrate those anecdotes, those witnesses that you just alluded to.
Well, you made my day. Now I have a reason to celebrate more Monday through Thursday.
For sure.
And I'm going to. If my husband and my daughters are listening, they know that I will.
Awesome. I mean, I actually, one thing that when I discovered theology of the body in my own life about 15 to 20 years ago, one of the things that I love the most about Catholicism, and I may have known this 15, 20 years ago, but I certainly knew it because of theology of the body, is a celebration of the material world. The material world, although we believe it's fallen and marred, somehow kind of broken, it was created good. The human person was created very good. I love my Protestant brothers and sisters, but their theology kind of takes us in the direction that the material world is corrupted with a capital C. And we say, no, it is very good. It's bent, it's kind of broken, but it's very good. And this is why we Catholics can play bingo, why we can dance, why we can have booze, really anything in the material world within, except that which is objective sin, in moderation. And so, Anne, go celebrate. And because I actually believe that our Lord calls us to joy, as Bill alluded to in one of his opening statements, the abundant life.
Yes.
Amen. And here we are during COVID-19 and the Easter season. We can't forget. I mean, it's time to celebrate. We will get through this. I don't have any doubt that the Lord is going to get us through this time. To those who are listening, going through rough times, a shout out to you if you're listening and you are discouraged. Please reach out to us at the Sowing Hope podcast at sowinghope@patchworkheart.org. That is our email address. So you can email us prayer intentions and connect with us on social media. And as I mentioned, we are speaking with Matthew Pinto. He's the founder and the president of Ascension Press. Some of you are familiar with the many great books and authors, and also, of course, Ascension Presents, which people who watch YouTube who know Father Mike Schmitz and Jeff Cavins and all the others that you work with, as you said, that you have the blessing of working with at Ascension. So, Matt, I'm wondering if at this time during the pandemic that we're going through, if you would have any words of hope for those families and individuals listening who do need some kind of boost in their faith life?
Wow, I think much to say. Someone shared with me many years ago a concept that has stuck in my mind, and I believe it's our theology from the source from which it came. And in Bill's baptism, in Ann's baptism, and Matt's baptism, we're given the three theological virtues of faith, hope, and charity, love. Now, when we choose to separate ourselves from God, we actually can lose this supernatural virtue of love. But we're told that through the seeds of baptism, we always have a little flicker of faith and a little flicker of hope, that we can lose love. We can lose our salvation, literally. But that God allowed those two other flames to never go out, because those are the very ones that call us back, faith and hope. And so with hope in particular, I just think for those of us who are struggling, and it's got to be into the million, well, I think all 7.3 billion of us in some way in any given day, week, or month will suffer in some manner. But for those who are suffering now, I would remind you that whether you feel it or not, through your baptism, those of you who are Christian, you have this supernatural virtue of hope that all it takes, just like, around a campfire, when you kind of blow on the little flame a little bit, and it kindles it, in a sense, that with just a single word to the Lord, help, that is kind of fanning that little flame. So I would say anyone who's struggling right now, offer your prayers, but even if you can barely offer that, just say the word help, or Lord, help me. And if you can say that even in a repeated way, or especially in a repeated way, I believe the Lord will read your heart and fan that flame, and that supernatural attribute of hope will return. So maybe one other distinction on the issue of hope is, so often you and I use the phrase, well, I hope it's sunny today, or I hope this, or I hope that. That's a little bit different. That's kind of a human creation where it's wanting, it's weak. But fueled with God's grace, the supernatural virtue of hope that we're given in baptism is just a different level. It gives us the prospect that's something, that God is faithful, and that he will come to us if we simply ask.
Yeah, you're exactly right. That's something that's so awesome about the virtue of hope. And I've said this a few times on our show, because the name of the show is Sowing Hope, right?
Yeah, I was thinking that.
But Matt, as you're talking, I always like to hear, how eloquent that was and how beautiful that was, because you really gave us a really nice context, especially between the, secular hope and the, theological virtue of hope. But I always will remind listeners too that in order to possess hope, you cannot possess the end, right? So if you hope for heaven, once you have heaven, you no longer have hope of it. You know what I mean? Once you're in heaven. So I always just remind you that it's God's way of saying, I long for you to be with me, and you longing to be with God. That's kind of the part of hope that I think sometimes we miss. As Catholics and Christians, because we sit there and we go, okay, well, I hope, in the secular world, I get the latest iPhone, and I hope that, I make it to heaven one day, and I hope that I don't spend too much time in purgatory, and I hope all these things. But you know what? The reality is that when you possess whatever you're hoping for, you don't need hope anymore. So, just keep that in mind. But yeah, what an eloquent way to be able to help us, distinguish between the secular hope and the theological virtue of hope. We so need that in today's world.
Awesome.
It is awesome. And I love what you said, because the faith and the hope won't leave us. Okay, yes, the love can leave because of our own sin, right? But it doesn't mean that we can't get it back. That's why as Catholics, we have the sacraments of the church. And aren't we blessed? Now, yes, we don't have them right at this moment. They exist still, right? And we will get them back. But God is allowing this time for us, a time for us to long for him, I think. Yes. We are longing so much to get back in that church and get, get together with our fellow parishioners and friends. But mostly, we would like to receive Jesus Christ again in the Eucharist. So, but can you imagine that day? I mean, can you imagine what that day is going to be like? I'm going to be crying. I don't know about the two of you, but I know that I'm going to be it's going to be probably one of the best days of my life when I get to receive the Eucharist.
And actually, and I mean, this is a beautiful wake up call for me. I think, we go about our busy days going very quickly and we're distracted. And frankly, if I don't have a certain sobering moment and kind of jarring of sorts on that day, I really need to kind of examine where I am and where my heart is. And so, as you guys were speaking, I think of a story a friend told me. His uncle was a Trappist monk up in Massachusetts, and he went to visit him. He had gone through a nice conversion as a Catholic 25 or so years ago. So he went to visit his uncle to do maybe a 2, 3, 4 day silent retreat. And this uncle, who's a Trappist, who, really they're distanced and separated from the world by their own choosing. And he said to my friend that he believes that the Lord in his own life at times pulls himself away simply to make that hankering and that yearning more, not unlike kind of, in the physical sense when we stretch a muscle and then it kind of retracts, but it creates that growth. So I do wonder, and I hope, not only in my own life, but in the lives of so many, that when we do return, or when we know that we're about to return, that there is that longing. I think there will be a little concern, like many, that sometimes absent doesn't make the heart grow fonder for those who may not realize what they have, may not be catechized as much. So it's going to be very interesting. But first and foremost, I'm going to be looking at my own heart and where I am when that moment comes. And I hope I'm with you, Anne, and I think I will be, but I hope I'm experiencing it in the manner that you believe you will be.
I think you will be.
Yeah.
I think you will be.
Yeah.
It's just in the end, it's going to be great. I mean, I believe that. I believe that the Lord will use this time. And I want to invite people who are listening, please, to reach out to ascensionpress.com, because, your organization has enriched my own life and my family's. And I know, Bill, they have enriched your life.
Oh, yeah.
And Matt, I want to thank you for that, because, how you have reached so many people in the United States and in the world through this organization. This is all God's work. I mean, what you're doing is absolutely the Lord's work. I can't thank you and all the people you work with enough for what you are doing.
Yeah, it's amazing what you're doing, Matt, and Ascension is just a wonderful staple. Even growing up, I grew up in the Philadelphia area as well, and so reading your book as a teenager, the famous "Did Adam and Eve Have Belly Buttons?" Book. It was such a beautiful book. And it shaped my faith growing up in Paoli, Pennsylvania. Growing up at St. Norbert's, and I got to hear you speak as a teen as well. And there's something about it that the books that are being published is things that you're doing. I mean, obviously it's grown so much in 20 years that Ascension's been around, but it's unbelievable. The number of lives it touches, and it has touched mine. It's made my faith journey something that is just a wonderful wonderful growth, and has continued to fuel it and feed it. And I know there's thousands of stories like it around the world. So thank you for all you're doing, and everything that you're providing to people via media, print. It's just wonderful.
Praise God. Thank you very much. I need to hear that on occasion, not for the ego stroking, because I know my deficiencies. In fact, a half hour from now, when I go back to meet with my family and dinner, I'm sure I'm going to have more than a few moments tonight where all these aspects of faith are going to be tested because listen, we're all a work in progress. So it's good to hear. And again, as I shared with you earlier, I really believe that it's good for us to reflect on the good, because we're not robotrons, we're not we're humans, and we need to celebrate and celebrate those good things in life. So thank you. I accept it in the name of the Lord, and any cooperation, we believe, is ultimately because of God's grace. So
Yeah,
praise the Lord.
absolutely.
Yes.
And absolutely. And one of the things you're talking about in there that, just is when you're talking about, having the uncatechized and not having, might not have the same reaction that faithful Catholics have. And, one of the things about this show is that when Dan and I started doing this very first episode, we had people from India who were not even Christian listening to the first couple episodes of Sowing Hope. And we were like, hey, wait a minute. What's going on here? We thought, hey, this is more of a global audience that we're beginning to reach. And so when you start thinking about the uncatechized, and we think about the different ways that we can reach out to the people that are suffering in the world, and have our identity as a Christian, what does that look like? How do we reach out to people who are suffering and bring hope, and also bring along with it our Christian and Catholic identity?
Ooh, okay. Well, I would say you really need to be walking the walk, or here's a key distinction: attempting and desire to walk the walk. One of the liberations I've had over these years is knowing that the brokenness humanity. I think I've come to love the brokenness in humanity more than maybe even the victories. We shouldn't. I think ultimately, we should celebrate the victories, because the victories really mean that God's grace is absolutely working. But I love the brokenness. So why I bring this up is to say that in your witnessing, in your sharing, in your simply being in the presence of others, realizing first that you are still very much a work in progress is probably one of the single best things you can do, because people will see that you're you're not pretentious, you're not filled with yourself. You realize that you're struggling too. You're trying to make it through this journey of life like so many others, and it really becomes eminently relatable. So the first thing I would say is realize your own brokenness. Second thing I would say is more people than we realize are waiting to hear something true, good, and beautiful. And if they hear the true, good, and beautiful from an instrument who he himself or herself knows that they are a work in progress, it's really a 1-2 combination that is powerful. That is powerful. And so if I had to just again distill it, I think there's much more to it. I think knowing our own fallenness and knowing that the buyer, quote, the buyer for this particular message is eager to buy. One point that was, I don't know, I learned somewhere over the past 30 or so years is that all 7.3 billion people were made very good, but they weren't made complete, which means that here in this earthly sojourn, we will always be incomplete. And so therefore, kind of like the salmon that swims back to where it was first spawned, God has a homing beacon on all 7.3 billion people, pulling them all. So everyone who you meet today or tomorrow or the next day, some of whom might be distant, they still have a homing beacon in them that longs for that, where they from whence they came. So knowing that, if you were in sales, not everyone needs to buy, this water bottle, or not everyone, but right. All 7.3 billion people are hardwired for this message, whether they know it or not. So knowing that should give you a certain hope that your word will go out and not come back void on a lot of people that you speak to. And ultimately it's God's word, but through you, the instrument. So have confidence in knowing that the word will go out. People are seeking it. and that you yourself are really the ideal messenger, because you and I and Anne are absolute works in progress.
Yeah.
And so we haven't arrived yet. So we're a great messenger.
That is great. I love that. We are all works in progress. Well, I know I am for sure.
Mm.
And I love what you said about catechesis too. And I'm combining that with what Bill said. And I think this is really true, that not only is part of catechesis, of course, the truth, the goodness, and the beauty, but it is also the mission that we get, the privilege that we get to meet suffering, marginalized people on the fringes. That's our job, just like it was Mother Teresa's. I met that job in my own life through some circumstances that I'm working through about 10 years ago. And but the Lord introduced that to me in a greater way, that's part of who we are as Catholics, as people who love our families and love people outside of our families too. That to realizing, especially the people right now going through this whole crisis that we're going through, right, with COVID-19, and not only those who have the disease, right, but those who are, out of work and things like that. So we make a big shout out for our prayers. I'm sure that the people at Ascension are praying for everybody right now too. I saw it on your webpage, Matt. So thank you so much for putting that up on your website, the awareness that you're having. And that was another question I had. Just, you're a person, a family man with a wonderful wife and kids, and also a wonderful staff that you work with at Ascension. How have you been working together or praying with your family and with others about this crisis? And I just wondered if you could share on that.
Yeah. Well, as I shared in the beginning, I mean, this has been potentially the greatest time in the past 15 years since my oldest children were, like, say, 5 and 6. It's all kind of self-contained up until age 5, 6, and then all heaven breaks loose sometimes after those ages. So in terms of the activities and the sports, and I had a larger family, and we didn't deny them much in terms of activities. So we've been running hard for X number of years. And so, as I shared, the fruits have been unbelievable, the amount of family time, prayer time that we've had. So, and as a staff, it's strange, this digital world that we find ourselves in with Zoom and Google meetings and all that stuff has brought a different type of communion, almost a certain closeness, probably because we see people and we walk by them every day, but we don't realize kind of what's in front of us. Whereas the distance of the computer actually, strangely, is bringing a closeness. Like right now, we're on a podcast, but I'm seeing you guys, visually, on the screen here. And so in short, I think it's brought a certain closeness to the staff, with my family. And so I, like you, I'm wondering what's the Lord doing here? We don't necessarily believe that he caused it, but his permissive will is allowing it. And I don't know. I think strange things are happening in the hearts of people and will happen in the hearts of people in the weeks and months ahead. I don't think we're going to forget this anytime soon, and maybe not ever. So I think
no, we're never going to forget this. I mean, just like our grandparents and great grandparents went through the Depression, some of us, and but guess what? It made them into what they call the greatest generation, right? Because they were so strong, had been through so much. And, this is going to help us to be able to appreciate so much more, even the food on the table. Come on,
Yes,
when you go to the supermarket or the grocery stores and seeing those empty shelves. I mean, in my family, we're having the food delivered just because we have one family member here who does have a health issue that we need to be very careful about being around people. So trying to be careful in that respect. But yeah, I mean, I think it's helping us when you learn to appreciate what you have, right? I think it helps you to make you a better person of faith, doesn't it? I mean,
Now,
to understand what God has provided for us.
I read an article or some type. Again, we're all reading so much so quickly. Every night it seems there's a half dozen journals or websites I'm reading, and I forget where I read it, but it was sometime within the past 7 to 10 days where the author posited that this really could be a very good thing, in particular, I think, for all of us, but for the millennials in particular. I think, and I don't say that in a pejorative way. I love all humanity. I love every age. It's got its unique gifts and potentially deficiencies, because my kids, my millennials, were raised even middle class as affluence, compared to the rest of the world. So, but that this kind of has shaken up to some extent, even a small extent, the unbelievably comfortable lives that the majority of us in America, in the developed West, live. And so I think this has been a very good thing in some regards. Now, please forgive me for anyone who's listening who know people who have been out of work. One of the dangers that I was sharing with another friend of mine, well, he was sharing with me about a week ago, is that I can still do my work electronically. I can still, do Ascension. Ascension is a lot of digital business, and, the fulfillment centers can ship the books. My friend brought home to me about, again, 7 to 10 days ago that I shouldn't make light of this. There are 20 million people right now who are experiencing real hardship, and we're experiencing it, but I shouldn't focus on, in the manner that I have in this interview, maybe some of the blessings. There is real suffering that has been going on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. One of the things you said earlier, Matt, really stuck out to me too. And I think it kind of fits in with what you're talking about, the shaking up of being of our lives. You were talking about, bringing kids. We get so busy with the sports and all the extracurricular activities. As a youth minister, myself out here in Wisconsin for many years, it's the number one thing we compete with. Kids were getting confirmed at the age of 16, and they were worried about their football and their baseball and their basketball. Well, guess what? Now all of it's gone. Now all of it's gone. You can't have. There's no way you can go to a basketball game or or a football game. It just, God is taking away. He's stripping us away of everything that was seemingly important to us, culturally or societally, and I think one of the lines you said earlier really stuck out. You were saying we are good, but we're not yet complete. And isn't this a way of, helping us strip back and pare back so we can become more complete followers of Christ without all these distractions swirling around, from the society that we're taking kids to soccer, and we're worried about, feeding them dinner on the way, and we got to run through the drive-through so they get dinner and then they come back. Like, it just, there's, can I pack everything in? That now there's nothing to pack in, right?
Yeah. I mean, forgive me for this rough analogy, but it will soberingly deliver the point. And so forgive me in advance, but it's really like for the past 30 to 40 years, we've all been self-created crack addicts. And by that, I mean, we are busyness addicts. We are, even those of us who might fancy that we know of certain things, we've read the right books. Wait a second, we're all getting pulled into it. And, I was actually on, every couple of weeks, my staff will do an editorial brainstorming session about new, programs and products and books that we can create. So I've been toying around for about 2 weeks with a book idea that would simply be called Reset. And, who knows what the subtitle is, something, kind of something like the heavenly gift that has saved all our souls, or that could save all our souls, or something. But there has absolutely been, at least in part, a small reset in the lives of my own life, and perhaps your own, and the lives of millions. And frankly, I think even those of us who are experiencing suffering, we're all, to some extent, we're glad this has happened, because water has been thrown in our face. We've come to realize that how we're working isn't working. And so again, I apologize to anyone who's listening. I don't mean to, make light of very difficult situations, but as Christians, we also have this virtue, or this propensity to look for the hope, as evidence in the title of your show. And that's a good thing. So if I'm doing that, it's maybe reflexive, and it's not meant to disrespect.
Oh, no, I don't think you're being disrespectful at all. I think
No.
that it's just a great wake-up call, hearing your insights and hearing your words and knowing that your work is going to, continue in that vein, or that you're, exploring those things and working on, new books and ways for people to take advantage of this reset in our lives. This is a time to take advantage of. And so, I really encourage you, Matt, I know you have to go in a few minutes. So I want to make sure that you have some time to promote what, the new things that you're doing and the new, stuff that you want to get out there about Ascension. But it really comes down to the fact that what we want people to do is we want people to reflect and hit the reset button in their lives. And so there's great resources to help people do that during this time. And you're on the top of the list of the great Catholic media and publishing materials that you guys put out all the time. So go ahead, just share with us a little bit about what you have going on as we let you go here.
Yeah, and thank you for that, and thank you for the interview and the invitation. And if I could ask for anything, maybe from your listeners, it would just be, would you consider putting my name and my family on your prayer list at Ascension? So maybe the Pinto family, just for divine protection and blessing, and pray that our hearts are always guarded. So, I mean, if I had only one thing to share, I would say, go to Ascension Press, enter your email address in, and then you will receive regular updates of the free items, some of the items that we produce for purchase books, learning systems. So just go to ascensionpress.com, enter in your email, and you will slowly get introduced to a very unique world. We have our social media world, as I said. I think we produce 10, 12 programs a week or so. I'm not fully even sure, but it's somewhere in that range. And so we got a lot of great things to share. We got a lot of them are free. It introduces you to us. And once we know your interests, we can begin serving you up articles and things like that. So just go to Ascension Press, enter your email, and you'll learn more.
Awesome. Matt,
Awesome.
Thank you so much for your time, Matt. We really appreciate it. And certainly we hold you and your family in our prayers during this difficult time. And I know that all of the listeners do as well. We really have a great prayerful community here at Sowing Hope. So please, listeners, if you're listening to this live or listening to it later, please pray for Matt and his family and for all Ascension, because they do amazing, wonderful work. And so, Matt, just thank you so much for your time and for the blessing of being able to share with us on the air. And we definitely hope to have you back.
Great, Bill Ann. Keep doing what you're doing. The world needs it.
Amen.
Matt, thank you so much from my heart, from my family. We will keep you and your family in our prayers, and all of Ascension doing wonderful work. And please, I invite you to come back again to the Sowing Hope podcast.
Very good. Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Love to.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Amen. Oh my gosh, what a wonderful conversation with Matt we just had there, and he's just an awesome guy, isn't he?
Yeah, we are blessed. I mean,
are.
to have Matt Pinto come on Sowing Hope podcast. So once again, to everybody listening, you all know, most of you who are listening have heard of Ascension. I mean, you're on YouTube. You have seen Father Mike Schmitz. You have seen Jeff Cavins and some of the other wonderful speakers and religious that are affiliated with Ascension. So keep watching. I mean, I know my family and I are just loving Ascension in so many ways. Ascension Press, all of their books and authors. I can't say enough good about them.
Yes, there is so many good things, happening over there. And, quite honestly, though, too, we have a lot of really great things happening here at our ministry, too. And it's unbelievable how fast things have taken off. I mean, this show is a direct result of, basically this entire pandemic. It was a way for the Lord to prepare us and prepare your and my hearts for the pandemic. And it has been a wonderful journey. In addition to that, I will also say that We have had many other blessings between our, of our work. We were part of a wonderful conference together, and the Our Faith, Our Hope, Our Love conference on Fiat Ministry Network, which I have to give a big plug out to our friends at Fiat Ministry Network who are carrying the show as well. And then we've got some wonderful ways that you can connect with, you and me. Of course, the Sowing Hope podcast, SEWING, hope at patchworkheart.org is the best way to get in touch with us at Sowing Hope. But we've also got a brand new series that we're doing at Patchwork Heart Ministry called Discover Your Mission. And I really encourage people to take a look at that. The Discover Your Mission series on our Patreon too. I don't know, and I think I shared the videos with you so you could watch them, or maybe not.
Oh
yet.
yes, I mean I am so excited about Discover Your Mission. In fact, for people who are listening who know my website, which is andesantis.com, right on the front page is a little video from Fiat Ministry Network and also Patchwork Heart about this program. Every single month you can get downloads and videos of wonderful Catholic speakers. Bill, tell us more about how that works.
Yeah, so on our Patreon, it's very easy. If you're driving and listening to this right now, obviously do not crash your car. But it's pretty easy. All you need to do is go over to patreon.com/Patchwork Heart Ministry, and there's a tier there called Discover Your Mission. It's $25 a month, and what you're going to get is you're going to be getting a monthly mission from a Catholic speaker. So each month they're going to be a new Catholic speaker that's going to empower you to live your faith abundantly. And the way they do that is 3 full-length videos. So 3 full-length videos back to back to back that build up your faith, and they're also centered on one central theme. So when the first one, which was actually one that I presented on, was on the topic of running to the heart of the Father. And so there's 3 different videos on running to the heart of the Father, and I produced that also with my good friend Penny Warner at Grace and Mercy Ministries as well. She's got a wonderful ministry, so I really encourage you to check her stuff out. Her website is lovechaplet.com. But the idea is that it's on a central theme, and it's 3 videos from a Catholic speaker to deepen your faith. The only place you can get those missions and get them is on our Patreon. They're available nowhere else on the internet. So we really encourage you to head over to our Patreon site and subscribe. It's $25 a month. And then the other thing that we have going on Patreon too is a brand new Hear Your Faith tier, and that one is $10 a month. And that right now we're releasing the entire study of the Catechism by John Curry Sr. He has a 38-part audio series that goes through the entire Catechism of the Catholic Church. And it is powerful, and his voice is like the voice of God, and it's just awesome. So check it out. I really encourage you to go over to our website and our Patreon. Again, it's patreon.com/patchworkheartministry. And you can sign up and get involved there. The other thing that would really help us out, I know there's a bunch of people watching on YouTube right now, and that's amazing. So, listening on YouTube. And what I would love you to do is if you would just hit the subscribe button right on your screen below this video, hit subscribe. That would be awesome, because the subscribe feature enables you to know when we're going live for Sowing Hope twice a week. It'll send you a notification so you don't miss the show, and it'll also help you find all of our other videos. We have a weekly we have another weekly radio show, Young Catholics Respond. It'll be up there. We're doing a lot of free collaborative work with Fiat Ministry Network as well. So just head over there and hit that subscribe button right now. Again, if you're driving, wait till you get to wherever you're going, but hit that subscribe button, because that'll just give you access to all the free stuff we're doing. And kind of as Matt said, it helps you get to know us and us to get to know you and what you like, and then we're able to deliver you some tailored content. So that's that's what it's all about. We want you to connect with us. It's about saving souls. It's not about dollars. But just remember that we need dollars to work in this world too. So, and support ministry and technology and all of these things that are going on. So I appreciate the time for the long commercial, Ann, as we're talking.
No,
but
I'm in favor of everything that Patchwork Heart Ministry and Fiat Ministry Network is doing. It's such a blessing for me personally to work with you and Kent. A shout out to Kent Kohoski, who is the founder and the president of Fiat Ministry Network. So thank you, Kent, also for carrying this program, and also for your connection both with Bill and also with me too. So I'm just so grateful. And as Bill said, it is about souls. It's not about the money, but Bill has to put some food on the table like we all do.
Every once in a while.
We all do, right? But I want to make a shout out to people who are listening right now who, maybe you're feeling discouraged, but remember right now at this moment, what Matt said and what Bill said and even what I said, God is alive right now, and he's using this time to teach us all something. What is important? Our lives are not going to last forever. And I don't know how old you are who's listening right now, but we just don't know. We just don't know how long our lives are going to be. So take this time and just remember that God is providing for you at every moment. Okay. Even if crazy things are happening out there and you haven't been out in 6 weeks or whatever it is. I mean, I haven't really been out aside from a little walk here and there. And haven't even been going to the grocery store. So, just take this time. And if you haven't developed your faith, if you're listening to this podcast and you're away from your faith, that's what the invitation for this podcast was this evening with Matt Pinto, the president and the founder of Ascension Press. And Ascension Presents on YouTube, which is absolutely awesome. So his organization is all about just that. It's about faith. It's about bringing faith to you and your family, because everybody has to eat. Yeah, it's a little bit about money, but it's mostly about your faith and enriching your faith, because we care.
Yeah, and it's taking advantage. We care. Yep, exactly right. And it's taking it's taking advantage of this time. It's taking advantage of this time while you're not distracted by all of these other things that are going on out there. While you're not distracted, Go ahead and take the opportunity to deepen your faith. I have felt it myself, just the being able to have the peace and quiet to be able to pray my rosary late at night, laying in bed, or get up in the morning and just say some prayers quietly before all the busyness of the day. But then I realize my day isn't quite as busy. And so even during the day, as I'm working, I'm able to pray. I'm not worried about, okay, I've got to go to a baseball game tonight. I got to get ready, got to go get changed. I got to go out, or I've got to go and do something at night, or all of that's stripped away. So unless you're a total TV junkie and you've going to sit there and watch all these programs. And not saying that don't watch the programs. Do watch some of the programs. They're pretty good, right? Some of these programs are pretty good, and they offer a little bit of a diversion from the boredom, maybe. But I just encourage you to take advantage of the time that you have right now, because God has gifted it to you. Again, as Matt said, it doesn't mean that God made this happen, but He is, in His permissive will, allowing this to happen. And so I really just appreciate and thank you, Ann, and thank Matt for coming on tonight, because it's been such a huge blessing. Tonight's been a great blessing for our ministry and this has just been wonderful.
It really is. I mean, and I have no doubt God always has a plan for all of us. Remember, God always has a good plan for you. I mean, he's got a good plan that he cares. And, despite what's going on in the world right now, hold on tight, because after you go through a difficult time, and I learned this too, and I know you have, Bill, your faith is going to be stronger, and you will come out of this and you will realize that God was the one that got you through it. But you can't give up hope. And that's what this is about. This is the Sowing Hope podcast. I have to put a plug there, right?
Yeah.
But connect with us, please, with Bill and I. We are at Sowing Hope. Now, sowing is spelled SEWING, Hope Podcast at Facebook. We are also on a lot of different other places. We're on Instagram. We are on Twitter. We're even on LinkedIn. There's a Sowing Hope podcast on LinkedIn. So connect with us there. And we care about you. So please leave us those prayer intentions. Let us know what's going on. Hey, you might even be interested in possibly being a guest, because we love to host people who are doing wonderful things to help to make the world a better place.
Yes, we do. We really do. And, reach out to us. The other thing is, if you want a guest on the program, we have found out that the Holy Spirit allows us to just reach out, and he's given us the boldness, I guess, to reach out to people. And the amazing thing is, when we do reach out to people, they have typically said yes. So if there's somebody that you do want to hear on the program, we are maybe short of calling the Vatican and getting Pope Francis, we are totally.
I love that.
We are. But yeah, I'd have to learn a little more Spanish in order to be on the program with the Pope. But I will tell you that just reach out to us. Say, hey, we love the show. We don't like the show. Whatever. We want your feedback. We want to make this a community. We know it's hard. We know it's hard during these times, and we're just hoping that this is a drop in the bucket of your day, so that you can just have a little bit of a distraction. But also grow in your faith while you're being distracted from whatever else is going on in your lives and your world, and giving you the hope. So I just really encourage you in a deep and profound way to please reach out to us. We're pretty friendly people. We're definitely not gonna bite. So
No, we're laid back in that respect. So I wish everybody who's listening a wonderful rest of this beautiful day, even though here where I am, it's raining, but it's feeding all of those plants and the grass and crops, right? So
without the rain,
springtime.
That's right. Without the rain, nothing else can grow. It can't grow. We don't have the rain every once in a while. What a good lesson for us. But no, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. And the other big thing is share this stuff with a friend. I can say that until I'm blue in the face. But please share this podcast and share this on social media with a friend. Join us on social media. Recommend the groups to your friends. We are so encouraged by what has happened with this podcast in 22 episodes, and we're looking forward, and we're so excited to continue it and keep it going. So again, those things rely on you, though. You sharing the podcast. That's with your friends. You prayerfully discerning about joining our premium media subscriptions. Those things do help us continue, and it's just been a blessing being with you tonight, and so thank you so much for your time, for bringing Matt on the show. It was awesome to have him, and we'll certainly have him back.
And thank you, Bill. As always, it's such a blessing for me every week. And a reminder, too, that we are here every week, twice a week. We are here Tuesday mornings at 9 a.m. Eastern Time and Thursdays at 6 p.m. But you can always listen again, because they're posted up and be able to listen at any time on demand.
That's right. Well, Anne, thank you so much. And we'll kind of wrap up the show here. It's hard to believe an hour flies by that fast, isn't it?
It does. Good night.
But yeah, good night and good luck, everybody. And thank you so much for joining us here on the Sowing Hope podcast. Again, very quickly, reach out to us on sowinghope at patchworkheart.org. That's our email. So for Ann DeSantis, I'm Bill Snyder. Until next time, which is on Tuesday at 9 a.m., keep beating to your Catholic heart and sowing hope into broken hearts. Thanks for listening to this episode of Sowing Hope on Patchwork Heart Radio. For more information about this podcast and our ministries, visit our websites, patchworkheart.org and andesantis.com. You can also follow and interact with us on Twitter at PWH Ministry or Andy Santis 2. Patchwork Heart Ministry and Fiat Ministry Network present Hear Your Faith, a brand new audio subscription service that features a growing collection of uplifting Catholic audio choruses, talks, and other exclusive content to help you grow deeper in your faith and knowledge of Catholicism. Subscribe today at patreon.com/patchworkheartministry.
A brand new Patchwork Heart Ministry and Fiat Ministry Network invite you to discover your mission. A brand new in-depth monthly video series featuring engaging Catholic speakers who will challenge you to live your life abundantly. For only $25 a month, you will receive a personal monthly mission, including 3 full-length inspirational talks that build upon a new theme each month. Sign up for the Discover Your Mission tier at patreon.com/patchworkheartministry today.